Member for West Vancouver Capilano.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for speaking on this very important topic. As the House knows, I sometimes get emotional in here, and I think in particular with this kind of topic, women in particular feel the pain of other women. So this may or may not be one of those times where I have trouble getting through my words here. The brutal death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in custody of morality police after she was arrested for allegedly violating the hijab law has sparked sweeping protests across Iran and around the world. Many of my constituents come from Iran and are watching us to see what we say and what we do. Young protesters, mostly women, have taken to the streets chanting women, life, freedom as they cut their hair, burnt their hijabs, and faced down police to demand fundamental rights, bodily autonomy, and an end to oppression. How many of us here in Canada fear for our lives when we protest something? These women fear for their lives and are taking a chance that none of us here can understand or empathize with. Since protests erupted in September, the Iranian regime has arrested an estimated 14,000 people. This includes children, journalists, lawyers, and activists, according to the UN. At least 326 people have been killed. This is based on information from the Norway-based NGO Iran Human Rights. And 5 people have been sentenced to death by the Revolutionary Court in cases linked to this protest. Mr. Speaker, we cannot turn a blind eye to what's happening in Iran as women unite in defense of theocracy that deems itself the government of God. It concerns all of us because it's part of a larger struggle against institutionalized systemic oppression. In Iran, girls and women have been unfairly treated as second-class citizens with domestic violence, child marriage, and gender discrimination that continues to exist today. Women's issues have long been catalysts for broader political action and the key to challenging this regime. For at least the past 20 years, women's movements has been simmering since hijab became mandatory in Iran after the 1979 Islamic resolution, with laws regulating women's behavior and restricting their participation in public life as a hallmark of the regime. Each and every one of the women in this House should appreciate that we not only get to vote, but we get to stand in here and participate in building the policies and having the honor of voting on who is representing us. So, Honourable Speaker, compulsory dress rules interfere with basic human rights. Everyone should be free to choose what and what not to wear. Governments have an obligation to respect, protect, and ensure an individual's rights and to create an environment where everyone can make that choice freely, free of coercion by family members, society, or religious leaders. Fundamentally, such dress codes reflect and exacerbate underlying gender discriminations that have been around for far too long. The international society has a key role to play in reducing the gender gap, because gender equality not only helps children fulfill their potential, it stimulates economic growth, but it's also the foundation for an inclusive, peaceful, and sustainable world. We are sending a clear message. We must send a clear message to support Iranians' legitimate demand for freedom and justice, and we remain and must remain steadfast in upholding the rights of girls and women in every part of the world. A lot more work remains to be done through legal instruments and on-the-ground activities, but to everyone who stands up for those who face discrimination and fight for basic human rights, you are not alone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.